The ground trembled under the dying coughs of shattered machines. Heat shimmered across the battlefield like a mirage, bending broken metal into distorted silhouettes. Human recon pilot Jace Arden pressed himself against the remains of a ruined walker, counting the seconds between plasma bursts. His visor was cracked, his sidearm overheated into useless scrap, and his comm system spat only static. He exhaled sharply. Great, lost, unarmed, and dehydrated, exactly how I imagined my Tuesday. Then came the footsteps. Not frantic, not cautious, slow, measured, almost arrogant. The kind of walk belonging to someone who had never once questioned their authority over a battlefield. Jace peeked over the wreckage. She stood there like an accusation carved out of light and alloy. Her armor was obsidian black, veins of violet bioluminescence pulsing beneath its plates. The helmet retracted with a soft hiss, revealing a face almost human, sharp, symmetrical, impossibly composed. Jet black hair framed pale skin, and her eyes glowed with a cool, predatory cyan. A commander, definitely a commander. Her gaze locked onto him, unblinking. Jace slowly raised his hands. Hi. Before you vaporize me, just know I had absolutely nothing to do with how ugly this war zone looks. Her weapon remained aimed at his chest. Its barrel hummed with energy, like a restrained storm. You are a soldier of the Terran Union, she said. Her voice was smooth but edged with steel. Identify yourself. Lieutenant Jace Arden, he replied. Currently unarmed, partially concussed, and emotionally damaged from walking into at least 3 spider drones. Purely accidental, I promise. She didn't react. You violated Varan Dominion airspace, she continued. You will be detained and interrogated. Jace scratched his cheek, smearing soot across it. Before we get to the interrogating, which, don't get me wrong, sounds like a lovely bonding experience, can I say one tiny thing? Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't shoot. Encouraging. You have, he said, adopting the seriousness of a man delivering classified intel. An objectively spectacular sense of posture. A beat, another. Her expression did not change, except for the smallest, near-invisible twitch at the corner of her mouth. Or maybe that was just his impending heatstroke hallucination. You dare speak frivolously to a Dominion officer? She asked. I panic compliment, it's a thing. Also, in my defense, I'm pretty sure anyone would notice posture that majestic under pressure. Silence, long, assessing silence. Then her rifle folded back into her armor like retracting fangs. You are my prisoner. Well, Jace muttered, offering his wrists as a captured drone floated toward him. This went better than most of my dates. He was lifted off the ground and hauled after her, dangling helplessly. Hey, quick question. Do Dominion detention cells at least come with pillows? Or is it more of a rattle around in misery type of vibe? She didn't answer. She didn't even look back. But Jace saw something, a tiny flare of color on her cheeks, faint and fleeting. Interesting. Inside her ship, he was deposited onto the polished alloy floor of a sterile white chamber. The commander stepped inside behind him, arms folded behind her back with military precision. You will be processed, evaluated, and questioned, she said. Do I at least get a questionnaire first? Icebreaker prompts? Favorite color? Ideal warlord aesthetic. Her expression stayed perfectly unreadable. Your attempts at humor will not help you. It's not for you, Jace said, leaning against the wall. It's for me, coping mechanism. Top tier, award-winning, highly recommended. She turned to leave. Wait, he called, I didn't catch your name. She didn't turn around, but she answered. Command. The cell lights dimmed for exactly 10 seconds, then flared back to full intensity like the room had decided to wage psychological warfare through ambience alone. Jace winced and rolled onto his side on the metallic bench. Fantastic, he muttered. A prison designed by someone who hates circadian rhythms. A soft chirp echoed from the wall, and a panel slid open to reveal a tray. On it sat a translucent cube of something blue, gelatinous, and visibly resentful of existing. Jace poked it, it jiggled with intent. Okay, he said, that's a threat. A voice crackled through a hidden speaker, smooth, male, faintly amused. Nutrient gel, standard Dominion ration, it is safe for human consumption. That's not reassuring. Most of what I survive probably isn't safe for human consumption. Eat, the voice said, make me. Silence, the panel closed. Jace considered the cube again, it wobbled almost defiantly. Eventually he sighed, tore off a corner with his teeth, and grimaced. Tastes like someone tried to recreate citrus using a memory of disappointment. He was still chewing when the door slid open with a hiss. Commander Selin Varin entered, no armor this time, just a fitted black uniform that somehow made her look more dangerous than full combat plating. Her posture was flawless, her gaze cool and cutting. Jace brightened. "Selin, hey. Good news, the food only partially murdered my will to live." "I did not ask," she replied. "That's the best part, you don't have to. I volunteer these updates, free of charge." She stepped closer, expression unreadable. "You are to undergo formal questioning." "Just so we're clear," Jace said, standing. "Is this the part where you use mind probes or the part where you ask deeply personal questions like my middle name and whether I believe in astrology?" "It is an interview," she said flatly. "Oh, that's almost disappointing." She didn't respond, simply gestured for him to follow. Two guards flanked them immediately, stiff and silent. Jace flashed them a grin. "Morning, gentlemen." Loved the matching scowls, very symmetrical. Neither reacted. "Right," Jace whispered, "tough crowd." Selin led them through curved corridors, illuminated by soft pulses of indigo light. The ship felt alive, humming with quiet power that vibrated underfoot. As they walked, Jace noticed her ears, a perfectly human shape but just slightly more sensitive in their movements, reacting to ambient noises with tiny, involuntary flicks. He filed that away as motion detection indicators. "Very useful." "So," he said casually, "how many humans have you captured before?" "None." "Oh, so I'm your first." He nodded approvingly. "Important milestone. You always remember your first prisoner." Her steps faltered barely, but enough for him to notice. "That is not relevant," she said. "Oh, it's relevant to me. It means I'm unique, special, a collector's edition even." "You misunderstand your position entirely. And yet I'm still walking beside you instead of being dragged. So I must be doing something right." The interrogation room resembled a meditation chamber more than a torture suite. Minimalist walls, a single silver chair, and a floating holographic console forming a faint halo of blue light. Selin gestured toward the chair. Jace eyed it suspiciously. "It's not going to eject me into space or take a blood sample without permission, right?" "It is a chair," she repeated. "So was the last thing I sat on before it launched me across a mining outpost with no pants. I've learned to be cautious." She folded her arms, an action that somehow made her look even more authoritative. Jace sighed dramatically and sat. Selin activated the console. A hum filled the room as his biometric data, service history, and a slightly embarrassing training photo he thought was classified all floated into view. "Lieutenant Jace Arden," she stated. "Terran Union reconnaissance. You entered Dominion territory in violation of the Neutral Accord." In my defense, the Neutral Accord is like 50 pages long, and I only read about 4. "You are deliberately being difficult." "I'm being charming, there's a difference." "You are provoking me." "No, this is flirting, subtle difference." She froze just for a heartbeat, then her ears flicked, that was new. "This interrogation is concluded," she said abruptly. "What, that's it? No invasive scans, no emotional stress tests. I practiced a whole monologue. You will remain in your cell until further notice." "Can I request amenities?" "No." "Air freshener?" "No." "A window?" "No." "Okay, but hear me out." She left, the door closed behind her with a sharp hiss. Jace flopped back in the silver chair. "Well, either she hates me or I'm the highlight of her week." When he returned to his cell, he found a small viewport added to the wall, a thin, transparent sliver showing the swirl of distant stars. Jace stared at it, stunned. She denied his request, yet gave him exactly what he asked for. Interesting, hours passed before the door opened again. Selin stood outside, arms folded, posture perfect. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes, slightly softer than before, barely. "You may stand," she said. Wow, I feel honored." "We have received a transmission," she continued. "A human vessel has issued a distress signal from within a Class 7 ion storm. Your fleet cannot reach them in time." Jace's heart lurched. "Which vessel?" Selin tapped her wrist console. "Call sign TU-93 Sentinel." Jace stiffened. "That's Commander Hale's squad, 3 rookies on board. They will not survive more than 6 hours." He stepped closer, meeting her eyes. "Then we're going to help them, right?" Her silence was a wall. "Selin," he said quietly, "your ship can do it, you know it." Her jaw tightened. "The Dominion does not intervene in Terran affairs. Screw politics, people are dying." She turned away. Jace exhaled sharply. "Look, you didn't bring me here just to ignore the one useful thing about me. Let me help you navigate the storm." "That is impossible. You are a prisoner." "And you're pretending that you don't want to help. But I saw your reaction, you care. Her gaze snapped toward him, controlled but burning. You presume too much, she said. And you feel too much, he countered softly, their eyes locked. For a moment the room forgot to breathe. Then finally, the storm approached like a living thing, an expanse of violent iron clouds twisting into spirals of cobalt fire. Even through the Dominion vessel's shielded viewport, the radiation shimmered like lightning trapped underwater. Jay stood beside Commander Sellen on the command deck as alarms pulsed in steady intervals, painting everyone's faces in alternating hues of red and blue. Dominion officers moved with clipped precision, but Jace could see it, the tension in their shoulders, the subtle quiver in their breath. They weren't afraid exactly. Dominion soldiers didn't fear storms, but they did respect them. Iron storms killed without hesitation. We are entering the outer turbulence, an officer reported, fingers dancing across a holographic console. Shields at 82%. Adjust trajectory by 0.4, Sellen ordered. Compensate with stabilizers 1 and 3. Her command presence was magnetic, quiet, focused, razor-sharp. Jay stepped closer. You sure about this? He asked under his breath. You are the one insisting on this rescue. Yeah, but I didn't expect you to actually say yes. I have not said yes. You walked your whole ship into an iron storm. Her jaw tightened. Proceed with calculations. He smirked. That wasn't a denial. He moved to the auxiliary console. The Dominion officers all tensed as though he'd reached toward a detonator. Relax, he said. I'm not here to break anything on purpose. Sellen eyed him. You will follow my instructions exactly. He flashed a grin. Specific instructions or broad guidelines, because you Dominion types love being vague. Her eyes narrowed. Exactly. Got it, no improvising. I'll pretend I'm someone else. She ignored that. As the ship dove deeper into the iron clouds, the hull groaned under the pressure. Bolts of electrical discharge arced across the shields in blinding ribbons. Jay steadied himself, fingers flying across the console as he recalculated pitch, power distribution, and gravitational vector compensation. Storm wave incoming. An officer shouted. Secondary shielding is destabilizing. Sellen's voice was steady as steel. Redirect power from tertiary conduits. Anchor the starboard stabilizers. We'll lose maneuverability, the officer protested. Jace leaned over the console. Not if you do it while shifting to manual drift. Several heads snapped toward him. Sellen stared. Explain. He projected a quick schematic. If we let the storm's current pull us along the outer ridge, we can sling around the trough instead of fighting it. Think of it like surfing on a wave of cosmic violence. One officer muttered something in Dominion dialect that sounded like this human is insane. Sellen studied the model. Seconds ticked by. The storm pounded the hull. Then finally, she nodded once, implement it. The deck erupted into scrambling action. Jace's pulse raced as he and the Dominion crew synced inputs, adjusting the ship's angle by microscopic increments. The vessel lurched violently as they caught the storm's current, its engines roaring like an animal in pain. For a heartbeat, everything seemed too slow, too sluggish. Then they shot forward. The storm hurled them along its outer spiral like a stone from a sling. Lights flickered. Console panels sparked. Someone cursed. Jace laughed because he couldn't help it. I knew this ship had style, he said. This is not style, Sellen retorted through clenched teeth. This is death. Tomato, tomato. Ahead, through swirling layers of electric blue, the stranded Terran vessel flickered into view, its hull spinning uncontrollably, engines sputtering, SOS beacon barely alive. Lock on to their coordinates, Sellen commanded. We've got them, an officer shouted. But we won't survive the inner turbulence if we maintain this speed. Jay stepped beside her. Then we don't maintain it. Sellen's eyes snapped to him. Explain. He leaned over her console. We slingshot again. Use the gravitational distortion pockets as anchors, hop between them like stepping stones. That is impossible to calculate manually. Good thing I'm not doing it alone. Their eyes met, stormlight reflecting in her pale blue irises. She inhaled once, sharply. Assist him, she ordered her crew. Shock rippled through the command deck, but no one questioned her. Together, they mapped the distortions in real time. Jace adjusted the vector while Sellen recalibrated the power grid, her hands moving with surgical precision. The ship bucked wildly, tossing 2 officers to the floor. A beam of electricity slammed into the shields, shaking the entire structure like a rattled cage. Jace gritted his teeth. Almost there. The Dominion ship lurched into the final gravitational pocket, momentum snapping into alignment. They burst through the last barrier of iron clouds, engines screaming, and suddenly, silence come. They were through. The Terran vessel drifted helplessly before them. Selen exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing by a degree. "We are in position," an officer reported. "Initiating docking tether." Jace let out a shaky laugh. "Told you this would work." Selen turned to him. Her expression was composed, but her eyes were different, warmer. "You are reckless," she said, bold. "Irresponsible. Flexible." She stepped closer. Jace had been back in his upgraded cell, complete with a narrow viewport and the constant hum of Dominion engineering, for approximately 10 minutes when the door slid open again. Two guards stood outside, rigid as statues. One spoke, "You will accompany us." Jace blinked. "Already? Wow, I usually don't get summoned this fast unless I've broken something." "You have broken something?" the guard replied. Jace paused. "Define broken." The second guard gestured. "Move." He followed, more curious than concerned. If Selen had wanted him dead, she'd have done it with impeccable precision and probably very little cleanup. The walk through the ship was oddly familiar now, each corridor glowing with the Dominion's signature indigo pulse. They stopped outside the engineering bay. The moment the doors opened, Jace understood. Sparks, smoke, a partially dismantled coolant regulator lying on the floor like it had been through a messy divorce. And at the center of it all stood Commander Selen Varin, arms folded, posture immaculate, irritation emanating off her in quiet, refined waves. Jace lifted a hand. "Before you say anything, I want it on record that the fire was not my fault." "There was no fire," she replied coolly. "Oh, then we're doing great." Her expression tightened. "Explain why you altered the coolant pathways." Jace said, bracing himself. "About that." He walked over to the exposed panel. "Your ship runs an outdated distribution design. Efficient, but it creates a heat bottleneck during ion stress. I made 3 minor adjustments to spread the load. You rerouted energy from a stabilizer into a secondary manifold without authorization. Those are words, yes. You could have destabilized the core. But I didn't. You could have. But I didn't." She inhaled sharply, the Dominion version of yelling. "You are reckless. Resourceful. Unpredictable. Adaptable." Her teeth clenched. "Stop redefining my accusations." "It's not my fault they all sound like compliments when you say them in that tone." Her ears flicked. She clearly regretted the evolution that had cursed her with such expressive features. Selen exhaled more calmly this time. "Despite your interference, the result improved efficiency by 12%. Jace brightened. "So you are thanking me." "I am not. You literally just." "I said despite, that is not gratitude." "Feels like gratitude." "It is not." "Feels a lot like it." "Enough." She turned sharply and walked toward a nearby console, her cape swishing with dignified menace. Jace grinned and followed. A Dominion officer entered, tall and narrow-eyed, carrying a datapad with the same energy as someone delivering terrible news. He handed it to Selen. She read the message, then closed her eyes briefly, an emotion so subtle Jace might have missed it if he wasn't obsessed with observing her. "What's wrong?" he asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she dismissed the officer with a nod. Only when the room was empty did she speak. "The High Command has issued a directive. You are to be transferred to Terran custody." Jace blinked. "Already. You are not a Dominion citizen. Your presence aboard this vessel is irregular and politically sensitive. Also technically kidnapping." Her gaze sharpened. "You entered our territory illegally." "I tripped into it. There's a difference." She ignored that. "High Command orders are absolute. You will be escorted to the rendezvous point in 6 hours." Jace stared at her, not angry, not upset, just hollow. "So that's it," he said quietly. "I go home, and you go back to pretending you don't have emotions. My demeanor is irrelevant. Selen, come on, after everything we just did. That storm run, saving Hale's squad, working together in engineering. You can't tell me none of that meant anything." Her jaw tightened. "You were a prisoner performing forced labor." "That's the most affectionate phrasing I've ever heard," he muttered. "Really warming my heart here." She folded her arms. "Do not mistake temporary cooperation for connection." But it was connection. She stiffened. For the first time since he met her, she didn't have a ready retort. He stepped closer, slowly, respectfully, until they were just a meter apart. You don't spend that much time arguing with someone unless you care at least a little, he said softly. I do not care. Your ears just twitched. No, they did not. You did it again. She turned away sharply. You are impossible. And you're a terrible liar. She froze, shoulders tense, breath shallow. For a long moment, neither spoke. The engineering bay hummed around them like a heartbeat, steady and quiet. Finally, Selin said, You will prepare for transfer. Jace swallowed. The words hit harder than he expected. Right, he said. Transfer, got it. She didn't look at him as he left. But when the door closed behind him, Jace saw her reflection in the glass, standing perfectly still, staring at the console without reading a single thing on it. And her ears were trembling, not with anger, not with irritation, but with something she wasn't ready to admit, something neither of them had the vocabulary for. He returned to his upgraded cell and sat on the bench, staring out the viewport at the stars swirling past. The hum of the ship. Jace didn't sleep. Not that he could have, with the Dominion ship humming restlessly like it, too, sensed something unresolved. He sat by the narrow viewport, watching the starfields drift by in long, lazy curves. 6 hours. 6 hours until he was handed over like a misplaced package. 6 hours until he lost the only alien commander who'd ever argued with him like she was trying not to smile. The doors slid open without warning. Selin stood there, no guards, no armor, just her fitted black uniform and the tension of someone fighting a war entirely inside their own chest. You requested nothing, she said. That's usually how requests work, Jace replied. You don't make them when no one listens. Her eyes narrowed. You have been quiet. I'm processing. I did not order you to process. That's the point. She paused, confused in the way a Dominion officer might be confused if gravity suddenly stopped working. Come, she said. Where? She hesitated then. Observation deck. My favorite place, mainly because nothing explodes there. Preferably, she added. They walked side by side through curving corridors. Dominion soldiers watched them, some curious, some suspicious, some outright baffled that their commander would escort a human anywhere. But Selin didn't stop. She didn't explain. The observation deck opened like a sanctuary, floor-to-ceiling transparent alloy revealing the stretch of starlit void. Nebulae painted the darkness in streaks of violet and silver. Jace whistled softly. Wow. Selin walked to the viewport, hands clasped behind her back. We will arrive at the rendezvous in 2 hours. So soon, Jace tried for lightness, failed, yes. Silence settled between them, not hostile, not awkward. Just heavy enough to make breathing feel like work. Jace finally spoke. Selin, do the Dominion have a word for goodbye? She didn't turn. We do not use permanent farewells. The galaxy is vast but not infinite. Paths cross again. That's surprisingly optimistic. It is not optimism. It is statistical probability. He smiled faintly. Sure, statistics. Selin's reflection shimmered against the glass. Composed, unreadable, a silhouette shaped by discipline. Then she said quietly, Lieutenant Arden. He turned. You can call me Jace, you know, you've earned that. Her voice softened. Jace. His heart stuttered. She continued, I have reviewed your conduct. Your actions during the storm run were effective. Effective, he echoed. High praise. And your behavior on this ship. She searched for the right word. Dominion vocabulary was failing her. Disruptive. I aim to please. You aim to create chaos. It's a lifestyle. Another silence. Then unexpectedly Selin stepped closer. Very close. Close enough that he could see the faint blue reflection of starlight in her eyes. You are infuriating, she said. Thank you. That was not praise. It felt like praise. You are undisciplined. I prefer spontaneous. You disregard protocol. See, you notice things about me. Her jaw tightened. You misunderstand everything. He grinned. I think I understand plenty. She looked away sharply, ears twitching. He softened his voice. I like you, Selin, even when you're terrifying. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Then, after a long, brittle moment, she whispered, I do not understand you. You're not supposed to, he said gently. That's half the fun. Selin turned back to him, face inches from his. I should hate you. But you don't. I should. But you don't. Her breath hitched so small he barely caught it. He reached out, slowly, carefully. His fingers hovered near hers without touching. If I say nothing, he murmured, I'll regret it. Selin's eyes flicked down to his hand, then up to his face. Do not say it, she said. That won't stop me. You are leaving. Yeah, he said softly, and that sucks. A single heartbeat passed, then another. Selin stepped back as if the distance would help her regain oxygen. This cannot continue. What can't? This, her hand gestured between them as if outlining something too dangerous to name. He shrugged. Feels pretty normal to me. It is not normal. It could be if we let it. We cannot. Why? Her silence said everything. Duty, protocol, species, politics, all the invisible walls she had built around herself. Jace nodded slowly. Okay, then answer me this. She braced herself. Will you miss me? Selin froze. Absolutely froze. Her face remained stone still, but her ears, her traitor ears, flicked hard. He smiled, sad and warm. That's a yes. Jace, she warned. What, you think I can't read you by now? I've practically earned a degree in Dominion Commander moods. This conversation is over. Selin, she took another step back, but even that distance didn't hide the tremor in her breath. You are being transferred, she said. Prepare yourself. He swallowed, right. She turned to leave, but just before the doors opened, she spoke one last time. Your presence has been statistically impactful. He blinked. Is that your way of saying I meant something to you? It is the only way I am allowed to say it. And she was gone. Jace stood alone in the quiet, watching her disappear down the corridor, unable to tell if his chest felt tight because of the gravity settings, or because something in him didn't want to leave this ship at all. The Dominion vessel slowed to sublight as the Terran Union frigate appeared ahead, sleek, angular, and painfully familiar. Jace felt his stomach twist, not with fear, but with something far worse, leaving. He stood in the small transfer bay, 2 Dominion guards at his sides. They weren't hostile, just unreadable. Everything on this ship was unreadable except for one person, and she hadn't shown up yet. The docking clamps engaged with a muffled thud. Atmosphere equalized. A panel flashed green. Transfer corridor stabilized, one guard said. Proceed when ordered, said the other. Jace's chest tightened. Is your commander coming? Silence. Dominion soldiers were excellent at silence. He exhaled slowly. Yeah, I figured. The inner door hissed open, revealing the narrow corridor that connected the 2 ships, bright, sterile, undeniably Terran. He stepped forward. Then a voice cut through the bay. Lieutenant Arden. He turned. Selin stood in the doorway. Full armor this time, obsidian plates gleaming like polished onyx, violet lines pulsing with restrained energy. The helmet was off, tucked under her arm. Her eyes were steady, expression perfectly neutral. But Jace had learned to read the things she didn't say, and the things she didn't say were screaming. She dismissed the guards with a gesture. They left instantly, leaving the 2 of them alone in the echoing chamber. Selin approached, slowly, each step deliberate. You are prepared, she said. As ready as I'll ever be to leave the most confusing emotional experience of my life. That is not an official classification. It should be. Her posture tightened. Your people will want answers. Good luck to them, Jace said. I barely understand any of this myself. A flicker of something, irritation, amusement, grief. Crossed her eyes, she held out a small data pad. This contains your debrief transcript and a list of items confiscated upon capture. Jace took it. Great. I'm sure my half-melted sidearm and 2 protein bars will be essential diplomatic artifacts. There is also a technical report. He blinked from me. Your suggested modifications. Jace's heart stopped for a second. You kept them. They were effective. He grinned. Admit it, you like my ideas. I tolerate them. That's practically affection in Dominion language. Her ears betrayed her again. A tiny flick, a tremor, a ripple of emotion she refused to voice. Jace stepped a little closer. You could come with me, he said quietly. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Selin froze, not dramatically, but with the subtle rigidity of someone whose entire operating system just encountered an impossible command. That is not allowed, she said. Since when do you care about allowed? Always. No, Jace said softly. Not always, not with me. Her breath caught, he pushed gently. We're not enemies anymore. We saved people together. We survived a storm together. We argued together. You talked to me. You listened to me. You fought with me and for me. That was circumstance. No, it wasn't, he said. You know it was. Selin's eyes glimmered. Not with tears, Dominion commanders didn't cry, but with the pressure of holding back something enormous. You cannot stay, she said. And you won't come, he murmured. It is impossible. Everything we did was impossible. She looked away sharply, jaw tight. Jace, do not make this harder. He stepped close enough that the blue sheen of her eyes reflected his face back at him. I'm not trying to make it harder, he said softly. I'm trying to make it real. Silence filled the bay, thick electric aching. Then Selin whispered, almost too quietly to hear, I do not know how to keep you. Jace swallowed hard. You don't have to, you just have to not let go. Her breath trembled, but then slowly, painfully, she stepped back. Duty reclaiming her spine, protocol reclaiming her voice. You must go. Jace nodded, but his chest felt like it was collapsing inward. He turned toward the corridor, took one step, two. Then, just as he crossed the threshold, Selin's voice stopped him again. Jace. He looked back. Her expression was finally unguarded. Not soft exactly, but open, stripped of every layer of military steel. If you ever enter Dominion space again, she said, I will arrest you. He blinked. Is that supposed to be a threat? It is a promise. He smiled, small, sad, real. Then I guess you'll have to catch me. Her ears flicked. It was the closest she would ever get to saying come back. He stepped into the Terran corridor. The door...
Ich hab noch... Hallo. Wir können doch noch schon mal tanken. Wir haben doch voll. Hä? Wir haben doch voll. Nee, habt ihr nicht. Voll, halb voll. Viertel voll. Ja, weil wir hier schon 3 Stunden stehen mit laufenden Euro. Ja, und bei uns, der Stefan, der ist wie so, der hat mich an Johannes erinnert. Der fährt wie ein Geisteskranker, Alter. Der ist die ganze Zeit nur am Beschleunigen. Er ist auf jeden Fall hinterhergekommen. Ja, Alter. Ja gut, dann lass uns tanken fahren, dann sind wir schon mal vorbereitet, ne? Ja. Wir stehen gerade in Bowling Orange in Missouri. Man kennt's. Kannst du mir mal sagen, welchen Radar du guckst? Ah, jetzt hat er's. Zeig mal dein Radar mal bitte. Bist du mit der Pro-Version drin? Mit der Abo-Version?
Ja, ich bin mit der Pro drin.
Ich auch. Tablet auch, alle PCs auch, also irgendwie, keine Ahnung. Funktioniert, sagst du? Ja.
Oh, die Westlich haben jetzt einen Tracker. Explodiert.
Dann müssen wir Richtung Higby, Mobley. Habt ihr Stufe 2 Reflektivität vom Pro, von der Abo-Version oder habt ihr das vom Radarscope? Radarscope.
Ach nee, nicht das explodiert, sondern das hinter uns explodiert.
Was ist denn los? Die bei St. Louis?
Jo. Alter, die oben explodieren aber auch, ey.
Da ist eine direkt. Auch ausgelöst, Oklahoma City, südwestlich.
Naja.
Also ich finde die Idee mit den Zellen, die dann nördlich von Kansas City kommen, nicht schlecht, ne?
Ja.
Ja, die Idee ist gut, da können wir hin, auf jeden Fall. Wir warten noch bis Stefan wieder.
Ja gut, da können wir jetzt nicht hin, Alter. Bis Kansas City dauert es.
Nein, entgegenfahren.
Ja.
Du sprichst mit gespaltener Zunge. Ja. Weiß ich nicht. Nee, das sind solche Wolken, die haben einen Namen. Ja, schau! Wie heißen denn diese geriffelten Wolken hier über uns, vor uns?
Geriffelt?
Ja, die. Also. Das weiß ich jetzt gerade nicht.
Das ist Cirrostratus.
Ist das nicht Flockus? Flockus? Nein, Flockus sind niedriger auch.
Nee, ich glaube, das ist ein Cirrostratus.
Aber nicht Flockus, ne?